Welcome back to our real life scenario. Waiting for that song.
Yes.
Waiting for that song.
Bring it on. We gonna have a competition.
Well, shout out to all our real lovers out there. We appreciate you for tuning in every week like you always do.
Cause you real. You real
lovers.
Yes.
We feel the love for real. So much wordplay with this.
This is perfect.
Yes, I love it.
If I do say so myself. Yes.
All right, so you want to just hop into our real life love scenario?
Let's do it.
So, we have talked about, Lori Harvey. We've talked about Lori Harvey on this show before. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times coming to the defense of Lori Harvey because I think she's just,
which is crazy,
a young lady in her 20s, just enjoying life, dating, monogamous, what it seems like relationships, and just, enjoying herself. But the focus is not on her with this real life love scenario. It's more of the new person that she is dating.
Yeah.
And as we know, she was previously dating Michael B. Jordan.
Correct.
And that relationship ended.
Yes.
And now she is dating
Damson Idris.
Yes, from Snowfall.
Yes.
The lead actor.
Franklin Saint.
Yep. The lead actor from Snowfall.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to talk about is that there are a lot of things surfacing of Michael B. Jordan and Damson in the same photo, making a assumption that these two men are friends.
Yes.
And for some reason, Lori seems to still get the brunt of that,
of course,
criticism.
Of that criticism that is nothing more than speculative.
And the thing is that, number one, I want to dive into the point of like dating friends or what appropriate level is that to do that. But people gotta understand. I know Trump used to say this all the time. I take pictures with everybody. But if you talk about two very well-known, very respected black actors,
young actors,
yes, they're colleagues. They're going to be in the same space
100,000%.
a lot of times.
Yes.
And if they're in the same space, you know what they're probably going to do? Have a conversation with one another.
Surely. What's up, man? How you doing? I see how you killing it out here, man. Keep doing your thing.
And you know if they're together, it's probably an event. And you know what's at events? Photographers.
Yep.
And
lots of them.
And they love to take pictures of iconic moments and things. So later down the line, we may look at that picture and just like, oh, look at Denzel, Sydney, or Sam and Denzel was standing right next to each other. It's like, that's our generation's actors. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So yes, it's pictures of them together.
Yes. That does not mean they're friends.
Does not mean they're friends. I had teammates when I played football that I was with every day. I'm not teammates with all 100 of them people.
Right.
I see them every day, shower in the same shower, like all types of stuff, blood, sweat, and tears. All of them ain't my friends.
Correct. They're your teammates.
Same with work. People we work with,
they
see
not
all
my
every day.
friends.
Not my friends.
Not my friends. And
cordial, love them, cool, care about them.
All of that.
Not my friends, though.
That's right. That's right. And neither prior to these pictures coming out, which, by the way, I enjoy the internet. So let me just I enjoy the internet, says y'all, as we spell it, INNANET. I enjoy the internet because sometimes it's very entertaining.
It is.
Sometimes it's very edutating.
Yes.
Sometimes it's very educational.
Yes.
Other times it's messy and it's ignorant. I very much am tired of talking about, to some degree, Lori Harvey's dating life because, well, it's not that big of a deal. Like you said, she's doing what any young woman or older woman, a single woman, would be doing.
Yes.
Dating, because that's what you do when you're in pursuit of
love,
companionship, and whatever you want to call it. Sometimes people are dating for just fun. Some are dating for love. Some are dating for marriage. Who knows what she's dating for? I don't care. But the issue is that y'all decided to roll this out on this girl's birthday. The internet decided that we gonna post these pictures of her ex-man and her new man posing a picture together. I made a whole TikTok about it. Go check it out. Ronnie Cake's over there too. And I'm just like, why y'all bring this up on her birthday? Imagine on the day that you are being celebrated, the one day that's supposed to be your day, here somebody is shoving a photo down your throat of your ex-boyfriend and your new boyfriend, and then making it seem like you're messy.
And they want explanations. So
I mean, wow, like you really just out here dating friends. That's crazy about you. It's isn't, because that would mean that you all spoke to Lori. And you spoke to Damson and Michael, and you know that Damson and Michael are friends.
Those relationships.
Yes, and that Lori was like, I don't care to date friends. I'm gonna mess with them anyway.
Yeah.
Come on, that's a lot. Y'all filling in way too many blanks.
Way too much.
Yes.
But what I want to focus on is what level of friendship, or is it okay to pursue relationship with somebody? Let's assume that what people are saying is true or something, like, whatever. But it just struck up the thought in my head. It's like, what level of friendship or acquaintance or whatever is it okay to pursue or not pursue a person that somebody has dated before?
Yeah.
Have you ever dated a person that your friend has dated? Somebody you would call your friend?
No, never.
Nothing physical, nothing. Okay.
No, nope.
But have you dated like an acquaintance, like a close acquaintance? Like somebody you want to consider a friend, but you know them, they know you, like.
If I did.
You don't think it was knowingly?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, well, I just can't remember. But I don't think so. I think the closest thing I've come to doing similar to that is that I dated somebody that my friend liked from afar. So this was like in college. My friend had this like distant like for this guy. She never expressed it. They never went on a date. They didn't have each other's phone numbers. And a couple years later, him and I were in the same space at the same time, and we dated briefly. That's the closest I think I can come to it. Yeah, but never a friend, because that's just crazy to me and uncomfortable and like weird. Like and I'm like making this face. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see, because once my friends date someone, that person kind of gets this glaze of ew on them. Like, they might still be attractive. I'm not saying they are ugly or anything, but my friend dating them instantly makes me unattracted to them. Like, I can, with my eyes, still be attracted to them, but not enough to like want to date them or really screw my friend over or make my friend feel mad at me or whatever. So no, never done that. What about you?
I have never. I'm just trying to think.
Okay, take your time. We've got time, don't we?
So there have been situations where my friends and I have slept with the same person.
Okay. Knowingly.
Okay. Yes. It's the college days, but it wasn't like.
Dre's struggling.
I'm not going to say the term that some people use, because that's just not nice.
Okay.
But in certain situations where
does
it's like,
it rhyme with ride?
No, it's like it's a phrase.
Okay, got it.
I'll just say,
okay. This is a safe space.
We open here.
Yeah.
Some people would say some people are for the streets.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And college people are exploring and they're just having fun. Mm-hmm. So it's plenty of times to where a few people might have had relations with the same people.
Yeah.
So that's how, especially on a football team. Like, you gotta understand, it's a football team. I went to a PWI, which is a predominantly white institution. Mm-hmm. Normally at PWIs, there's a pretty small black community. Small may be 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, but compared to the overall university, it's a lot smaller than the majority. Mm-hmm. So especially if you are a black man that are interested in black women, there's only but so many there on campus. And if you're a black woman interested in black men, it's only but so many. And then a lot of times the athletes, not saying some of the regular students don't got swag and stuff like that, but the athletes, it's like body built, athletic, like just taller, all types of things. So it's like
you become the pick
women
of the litter.
Are attracted to the athletes.
Yes.
A lot of times at the PWI. So with that being said, through freshman year through to senior year, it's possible that you've messed with a few different athletes or a few people in the same crew or whatever. So yes, I've had relations with people that have me and my teammates and friends have had the same situation.
Okay.
That's one thing.
Not shocked, because I feel like most men, not even ones that went to college, just most men have shared bodies.
Yeah, I've had sex with somebody that my teammate dated. I've had, yeah, but I never like a friend and somebody was like truly like, you know what I'm saying? Like a friend. No.
Okay.
But I feel like for dudes, it can be sometimes different sometimes. Like, if you are saying like, I really like somebody, like I really like this girl, I really like this girl, I really like this girl. Like, first you gotta make it known, like, all right,
yeah, you like her,
like, and make it known that you like don't want anybody
she's
else.
off limits.
Yeah, she's off limits to a certain extent. Don't do this weird like as soon as you come into a group of people, you're like, oh, I call dibs on her or something like that. Like that ain't the thing. You don't call dibs on girls. That's weird.
Yeah.
The girls will make it known who they're attracted to and who they like. But if you are dating somebody and you know you are taking somebody seriously, then make it known. I've seen dudes get upset because they try to downplay a situation, and then when my teammates ended up doing whatever, and then dude get mad, but it's like, you were saying that she ain't this and she ain't that, and you don't care, she just or whatever, and but now you mad at me because you was acting like it wasn't. So I thought like, hey,
it wasn't no thing.
It wasn't no thing. Like, you don't care.
Yeah.
So don't downplay it like that. But yeah, I don't. The friends thing, if that's your friend, I don't think you should do that. If that's somebody who's really dating, that's just not right. But acquaintances, I feel like, you know,
it just depends on the acquaintanceship, if that's a word. Because this actually came up last year for me. An acquaintance of mine, and we share a friend, so we have like mutual friends. But me and her are not like direct friends. Like we only see each other socially. We're cool online and stuff like that, but like we don't talk on the phone. We don't hang out, just like her and I. But she was dating a guy and I knew about it. And the guy, I met him through different circumstances months and months later, and he asked for my number. And the first thing that popped into my head was her. And I was like, like if they had not dated, I probably would have given him my number. And again, this is a person that I would not call my friend necessarily. But I just feel like it's too close for comfort. Like,
happened to me.
Yeah, like we have mutual friends. And it's highly likely that if me and this person date and like it goes somewhere, you would learn of it. And you would also know that I knew that y'all dated, because when they were dating and then they were like posting stuff, I would hard eye their stuff or commenting like, oh my God, you look so happy. This is so cute.
So now it seemed like you were scheming.
Either that, yeah, or just like you knew I was dating this person. And I will say, I think it is a lot different for women.
Yeah, I think that's a woman thing, because that has happened to me before. I was dating a girl, things was great. She was talking about how much she enjoyed herself and how great of a time. But then she remembered that I dated this girl that we went to school with, and she wasn't even that close to the girl. Like they were acquaintances. I wouldn't even call them friends. I know her crew of friends.
Yeah.
And I actually talked to one of her friends, but like the girl she was talking about, it was just an acquaintance. And I was just like, you about to blow this up because of her?
Yeah.
Like that wasn't even a thing. Like that wasn't even.
Yeah. I think it would have, again, it's about the comfort of the person. Like if you're just looking at it on paper, what I just explained, it's all fair. But it would have made me uncomfortable. And I feel like it would have potentially made her uncomfortable without us even having a close relationship. And I think, no shade to men, but I think women's code of ethics is just stronger in that department. When it comes to like women to women, I feel like our girl code is way tighter and probably has way more rules than guy code. I feel like guys are like, I mean, I don't care, it was college, like whatever, or she wasn't my girlfriend, like whatever, like, or we only went on 2 dates, like whatever. Where it's like, if I went on 2 dates, you cannot date him, like period. Like he is not mine, but he's mine enough for this situation for you to not pursue him. I just think women are way more particular about it than men will ever be.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that ethics.
Well, I mean, I said girl code,
Oh, good
but
girl
I
code.
said
Yeah,
in this
yeah.
space, it
The
is
girl
because
code.
that's what it's based. It's rooted in ethics. It's rooted in I feel like this is wrong. It's immoral of me
I
to
guess
date
so.
somebody that you used to date.
I
That's
guess
what
for
it comes
guys
down
more
to.
intention. Like, what's your
Yeah.
intentions with the person? And if it wasn't an intention of it being anything serious to begin with, then
Yeah, but your intentions have nothing to do with the impact. You can intend that it ain't gonna be nothing, but what happens if it is? So you basically trying to tell me you can mess with her if you only sliding her.
no, I'm saying that the guy may not care if somebody comes behind them if his intentions originally weren't even to be long term with the girl. It was
Got
just to
it.
like have sex and have fun. So he wouldn't care if one of his boys or acquaintance came up because it's like, all right, I wasn't even trying to wipe her to begin with. I feel like it's different if you was like really dating somebody and
Right.
with somebody and saw something with them and it didn't work out, and then somebody like comes across and does whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just
It just if you feel
it's a
something,
feel thing.
yeah, that means you probably shouldn't do it.
And
If
it's-
when it
and
comes
then
up,
it's-
you like, oh, it's gonna be awkward.
And it's like Draymond Green says this all the time. You got to stand on it. Stand on it. If you doing it and that's what you do, then that's what you just got to stand on it. Like you can't be remorseful. You know what I'm saying? It's like if that's what you're going to do, if you're going to be grimy, then you're just going to be grimy.
Yeah.
The thing I can't get with is the people who do like the family stuff. That stuff be like,
Oh yeah, like you date your ex's sister.
yeah, or something like that, or cheat with your ex's sister,
Yeah,
or
you
your girl's
cheat on your
sister or
boyfriend with his
mom or something
daddy.
like- yeah, that's a new low right there.
Absolutely, a real low, a low that's gonna get you beat up 9 times out of 10.
Lay hands on them.
All right, let's jump into our real love scenario.
It's a little lengthy.
It's a little lengthy this week, but it is going to bring us around to an episode we've been promising to do for you guys. So I'm excited about this. So it says, hello, this person wants to remain anonymous. They say, hello, I'm reaching out to you guys all the way from Wisconsin. I listen to your podcast all the time. I just want to say you both are very emotionally intelligent and helpful. I'm writing as I'm going through a very hard breakup, and every time I listen to you both speak, it's very soothing and everything is so accurate. So I need advice on what I am going through and what I am feeling. I was in a long distance relationship for almost 7 months, and we broke things off a week ago. We were not on the same page towards the end of our relationship, and we kept bumping heads because he felt as if we didn't get along enough. In the beginning of the relationship, he was very clingy, loving, always wanted to converse, brag to his parents, and was always excited about us. However, after I came back from visiting him in South Carolina and meeting his parents for the first time, things started falling apart. Before and after this trip, everyone always raved to us about being married and having children, and he even admitted that he wanted the same. But in the days and weeks after the trip, he changed. He was brief, cold, we spoke less, he stopped planning dates, stopped initiating and responding to my flirting. It's like he lost all of his feelings. This hurt so much because our parents knew we were planning our lives together, including me moving to South Carolina and us starting a business. But the past month has been very hard because I look back at how things were in the beginning to now, and it was like a whole 180. It feels like he didn't really love me because when we broke things off, it seemed so easy for him to leave. He said he needed a day to think about things, but that turned into a week, and I was the one to break the silence. Now I'm planning to take a long-term break away from guys and relationships, but in full transparency, I'm very hopeful that we have a chance at working it out in our future if he wants it as much as I do. Would it make me desperate to wait for him and to see if there is a chance for us, or should I just move on? I also need advice on what I can do for myself to help me start the healing process. Thank you. Can't wait to hear from you both soon.
Thank you so much,
Anonymous,
for all the detail in that story.
Yes.
And this is something that, like, a lot of times we go through things and we hear some scenarios where we like, come on now, or like, you shouldn't do that, or like, come on, like, what was you thinking? But this is one of those situations that's just sad to hear because it seemed like you thought you had something really genuine, really, meaningful, something that could be long-term for you. You were starting to plan your future with this person. And sometimes it's hard to avoid these things. Like, they just look and feel right. And every indication is that it is right. And then unfortunately unravel sometimes. So we feel for you and we're sorry that you're going through this.
Yeah. And breakups are so hard on you.
Breakups suck.
Oh my gosh, they're so hard on you. So for that alone, like sending you good energy because it's like you are not yourself
for sure
through that process.
I know we have some points that we want to get into, but I want to say one thing about one of the pieces of that scenario. It reminds me, I'm an avid The Office watcher for a lot of people, so we tend to quote a lot of what we watch or consume. Love The Office, but one time, one of the stars of the show, Michael, I think it was Holly, which is the woman that he ended up being with at the end, that she asked him, why do you feel like we're perfect for each other or something like that? And he said, because everybody says so. And I think that that's a trap that a lot of people fall into, is that they think they let everybody saying that they should be together, influencing them into thinking that they should be with this person or that it works. And don't fall for that trap. Like, people's belief that y'all should be together is not going to hold your relationship together.
No,
that belief is not some type of power that it balls into a relationship, like energy, and goes into you guys and powers you into a relationship. No, like, you guys have to create and build the skills in order to be in a relationship with one another. Like, and the love has to be there, the trust has to be there, all that stuff has to be there, not just people being like, oh, y'all be great together. I can see that together. There's a lot of people that I thought, friends wise and relationships, that I thought like, oh, they're great, but for some reason
it didn't work out. It didn't work out. And I know believing is a big part of things working out, but even the two people who believe in it, that's not enough. To believe that it will be is one thing. To do the work so that it will be is a whole nother set of requirements.
Exactly.
Belief is kind of easy. Like, I believe that I will be very wealthy one day. But me believing it is not going to put the money in my bank account. I will have to do some work in order to bring the money into my bank account.
A lot of 10,000 people can believe that too.
Yeah.
But belief is one thing.
Only a few get to it, you know? Exactly. So, the outside people certainly should not. I get it. You want your parents to believe that they see a future with a person that you see a future with. You want your friends to really be into this because you're into it. But I think, and we'll get to some of these points shortly, that influence sometimes keeps people in relationships longer than they should be.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, because my mama said he the one. Because my daddy really, really likes him. It's like, but you don't.
Yes.
Your dad's not with him. Your dad only sees him on Christmas and Thanksgiving. Of course he likes him. You hate him the other 363 days out of the year. So I want to kind of start with her and the idea, just kind of breaking down the type of relationship it was, right? Okay. Long distance relationship.
Yes.
Comes with its own set of challenges.
Yes.
She lives in Wisconsin. Yes, and he lives in South Carolina, and I don't have a map in my mind right now,
but you know it's far.
But I know that that's not very close. I know it's not very close. And then the amount of time that they were together was
7 months, right?
Yeah, a little under 7 months.
I definitely think a long distance 7 months is a lot different than a local 7 months.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Like, I feel like it's less time.
Yeah.
It's like, unlike dog years, it's like if you're in a long distance relationship for 7 months, I feel like that's the equivalent of like a non-long distance relationship in like 3. Maybe 3 months, maybe 2.5 or something, because the amount of time that you get to spend together is way less. And also probably just the amount of time you get to communicate might also be way less, because it's not as easy to talk with our schedules. And I don't know if there's a time difference with that distance. I don't know, but just considering all things, it could be. So I don't know. I just think, to some degree, I get it. The breakup really hurts, but it was a relatively short relationship that seemed to have so much potential because of conversations and families and all of that stuff. But 7 months, I don't think is a long enough time to really see the full scope of someone. And especially not long distance.
Yeah, 7 months long distance. Because I mean, my relationship with Bree, it moved fairly quickly. We started dating in March, got in a relationship in May. She moved in with me in either August or October, one of those. But we were here with each other completely. And I was taking a leap of faith, knowing very well what the possibilities of that could be.
Yeah.
But also I never questioned her commitment to me, and she never questioned my commitment to her. We had other things that we had to work on.
Yeah.
But I want to be here and you want to be here. That was never a question. Like, we both want this. And in this situation, it seems like more of a question, like, you know, especially as it started getting towards the end of that relationship. Do you even want to be in this relationship?
Right. And you said, you know, Bree moved in like August of that particular year. When did you propose?
August of next year.
So you basically had a in-person active
Experience.
Relationship for 12 months before
Over 12 months.
Yeah, like before you committed to her, like truly committed to her, like with a ring, that level of a commitment. And then after that, you were still in a relationship as fiancés for a few years before you actually got married. And I know you were going to get married a year prior to when you actually got married because of COVID. But that's you were basically non-married for several years before you really took the whole leap of being together. And so you got to see Bree through lots of changes, whether we talking about her, you know, life experiences and working on those things through just literal seasons, winter, spring, summer, fall, like how that looks, living in one place to moving to another place because you don't live where you used to live. You know, you got to experience her as a person that you're sharing a home with. You got to experience her as a business partner. You getting to see so many different versions of your girlfriend than fiance, stopping there before we get to wife, that I think people underestimate. So while things were very quick initially, your relationship on average is probably about on par for how much time you spend with the person to really understand, like, is this my person?
Though, like you said,
like in person. Yes.
Yeah, the distance thing is very challenging and very tough to build that relationship, especially if you both have, like, she's in school, like I'm sure he worked, so it's like it's probably just a very challenging dynamic to try to get to know somebody versus if you're with them in person.
Yeah. And Dre knows that she's in school. I forgot to say this part because I had to adjust the scenario a little bit because there are lots of details. It was just really long. So y'all know I got to read it in a certain amount of time. So yeah, she was a student or is a student. And there's just some other details we'll get into as we break it down. But yeah, it's just, I get it. Those feelings initially, we all know what those are for the most part when things just pew, 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 they just all click, click, click.
Fireworks.
All of that, you know, like sometimes it doesn't go that way. As a single woman, I know them fireworks sometimes be good for one day only. They don't even get to 6 months anymore. But it's just not enough time because real life does have to settle in. And I even know when I was in a long distance relationship recently, which wasn't that far, it was a 2.5 hour drive. But like I said on the previous episode, we would compact so much in those visits. So those visits would feel like
bliss.
Oh my gosh,
Euphoric.
like the high would be the biggest, greatest high ever because we would do so much in that time, which is not realistic to how life will be once you're really like together, living in the same household or just living in the same city. So I think those are important parts of potentially why the breakup is also really hard. Because for the times that you did spend time with him or see him, it probably was on 1,000. And then you met his family and that was on 1,000. It's just like, whoo. Yeah. We rolling.
So we wanted to break down a lot of this episode. Like I said, we had talked about this topic a while back, like kind of in the beginning, leaving and grieving in a relationship. And we know that it's something that we all have probably been through at some point.
Yeah. Or will go through.
At some point. And before we get into our tips for leaving and grieving, I just want to set the kind of foundation for this is that, you know, for all those who are leaving, especially in this situation, anonymous who's leaving this situation, is that leaving takes courage. And I commend anybody who's able to leave a situation that they see is not right for them, because no matter if the relationship was good or bad, number one, it's a difference or a change from your norm. So you're adjusting your life, adjusting to life without that person in it anymore. And depending on how long you were with them, that's a huge adjustment. Even if the relationship was bad, even if it was a verbally abusive relationship or physically abusive relationship, leaving that is courage too, even though it seems obvious, because you don't know how that person may react if you tell them that you're leaving, or even a lot of those times you may have been dependent on certain things that they brought to the table in that relationship. So leaving a relationship and breakups are never easy. They're not fun. They're not a thing that we enjoy, because a lot of times, whether you hated the relationship or loved it, a lot of times you're in a relationship with somebody you cared about, and nobody likes to see somebody hurting at their expense. Like, you were the reason why somebody you care about is crying or angry or upset. Like, it doesn't feel good to have somebody hurting because of you, because you did it. Even if it was the right decision, it's just not an easy thing to do. That's why I always is like, should I do it in person or over the phone? It's like, because over the phone and text is easier, but it's more heartless, because trying to do that face to face with somebody is just,
it's like, whoo. Oh my gosh. From being on both sides of that table is hard. Being told it is, you feel gutted. Saying it, and even if you feel justified in it, watching the person go through the process of hearing it, their reaction to it could be calm and scary. It could be wild and scary. It could be scary is the word that totally describes this whole experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just setting a stage for that, I just want to say that it takes courage to leave. It's not easy. So if you think that it should be, or you're wrong for feeling like, why is this so hard, even though I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing? Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard. Yeah.
You're not weird for it being difficult, even if it's, like I said, a physically abusive, verbally abusive, if it's the person cheated on you, like all these things. Like, cheating is one of those things too, when leaving that kind of sucks, because it's like, things could have been amazing, but this wrench just got thrown in it, and it's like, if it weren't for this, like, everything was fine. Like, I enjoyed it. The relationship was great. And it's just like, boom. So just setting the stage for that is that it's tough. It takes a lot of courage, but we commend all those people who are able to do that and recognize that. That's some of our scenarios we see, and somebody's like, oh yeah, and we broke up, and it's like, well, good for you for actually doing that.
I remember the guy a couple of weeks ago. He was really questioning if he did the right thing. And when you read it, it's like, of course you did, but it doesn't feel like the right thing, because you really like this person, love this person. And depending on at what level you're talking about leaving them, because you could be leaving a 20-year marriage with 3 children between the two of you. You know what I mean? Like, that has to feel like so much. We had a scenario a couple weeks ago where a woman was married for a very long time and continued to see her ex-husband for sex and more, truth be told, for years after the divorce, because that is what she knew. That is all she knew for so long. So while now trying to be in a new relationship, she's still in the grieving process of that ex-husband, because she was Mrs. Him for so very long. And so we're hoping that we can give you some great information on, one, just accepting what's going on, and not avoiding it, but also for just how to leave, because there is a way to do it.
For sure.
There is a way to do it.
All right, so let's talk about our tips for leaving a situation. What's the first one?
So, Dre, and we chatted a little bit about this off mic, but one of the things that you said was coming up with the exit strategy.
Yes.
And I loved that. I like a process.
Yes.
Like, let's put a process in place. But a lot of people don't think about that when they think about leaving. They don't think about what strategies and what steps they need to take to exit the relationship. So I would love for you to expound on that.
Yeah. You have to, I always say, one thing is like the difference between discipline and motivation is easy. Motivation is lighting the match. Discipline is sustaining the flame. But that mechanism that you use to sustain the flame has to be specific to you. And it's the same with exiting a situation. Is you can't exit every situation the same, or you can't exit it like somebody else. Like, I am all for blocking somebody if you need to block them.
Yeah.
If seeing them brings up old feelings and old emotions and makes you lose your discipline of not being able to stay away, even though you know the situation isn't good for you, block them. Block them, their phone number, block them on social media, block them everywhere they can email, everything like that you could possibly do, because that's part of your exit strategy, because you know it's not good for you. You just need the you need the detachment, you need the space and time to work through it, digest it, heal from it, and then there'll be times where you can resist what they're calling you and be like, I'm over this situation. Also, it's depending on your situation. Like, you have to see where you are in that relationship, what type of person that you're dealing with, and understand how to approach that. Like, I've seen, and we talked about it with the spiritual whistleblower on Mona's on Don't Call Me White Girl show. We had her on. But some situations, you're dealing with somebody who's super unpredictable. You saying, hey, I want to sit down and break up, like, I don't think this is working anymore, that could put your life in jeopardy at sometimes, depending on who you are in relationship with. So you need to figure out a plan to where it's like, all right, when this person's at work, I'm taking this stuff and this stuff. I'm calling my sister to come pick me up, and I don't mind having a conversation.
By the end of the day, my phone number going to be changed. My whole social media is going to be erased.
Maybe it's leaving a note and saying this is where I'm at or something like that, just as so the person knows. But like, completely, changing your environment and changing your space. But it's important to understand like what that looks like. Even if you're leaving a marriage, like, you have assets, you have kids, you have like different situations that you have going on that you need to consider. And you just have to design an exit strategy that works for you, not only to stay disciplined in your decision to do that, but also that allows you the space and the lane to prosper outside of that relationship as you move forward.
Love it. Love every single word that just came out of your mouth, because it is all about it being catered to you. Your exit strategy has to be designed for your relationship, but also for you. It has to hopefully result in, like you said, when I exit this, it's prosperous. And if you, which is kind of another part of this is the integrity around exiting your relationship, and knowing that depending on what the reason that you're leaving, we'll set aside, because we're not so much talking about you getting away from someone who's violent or getting away from someone who's harmful to you. If this is just a matter of we are no longer compatible, we are no longer each other's person, it doesn't have to be nasty. It doesn't have to be this destructive, I hate you, you hate me. I remember watching a couple talk about what they called healthy uncoupling. They didn't even refer to it as a breakup or as a divorce, because they were married. They called it healthy uncoupling. And I just said, like, what you call something, like, words matter, and how you create, how you call something is how you manage it in your mind. So if I say I'm going through a healthy uncoupling with my husband, just by using those words, it says that we are making really healthy choices to separate our relationship.
For sure.
And so it doesn't have to be that way. Like, just because someone is not going to be your spouse anymore or your boyfriend or girlfriend anymore does not mean that you have to tear their car up, cut up their clothes, even if they cheated, even if they did something really like egregious, again, not abusive, egregious. It doesn't have to become this smear campaign. You getting online. This is where like the whole revenge porn thing comes into place. You showing people things that you never did that while you were in the relationship. They're not necessarily a bad person. They're just not good for you. And you should be able to have some integrity, because truth be told, just because they may in fact be a bad person in your mind, you don't have to become one just because they're one. You should be wanting to walk away with your head held high, knowing that they're going to go and do what's best for them and you're going to do what's best for you. And you wish and want the best for them, which is hopefully to be do whatever they want to do. Because I can't even say find another relationship, because some people are married and they like, this it for me.
Yeah.
Never doing this again. So just, I'm not going to use the word right, so I'm not even going to try, but just keep integrity in mind when you're thinking about your strategy. Like, don't have your strategy including things that make it really difficult for your partner or your soon to be ex-partner to function. Makes it hard for them to function once this breakup happens. Like some people, if it's kids between them, you wind up making it harder for them to see or have a relationship with a child that they've been in the house with every day. You intentionally move somewhere that would make that hard, or you fill their lives, the child's life, with all these programs and sports and stuff. And so they can't ever see their, whoever the person is that's no longer in the house, you know? So why would you do that, right? That just feels like you're trying to be difficult. Or if you knew that your spouse relied on you financially because you're ready to be done with the relationship, you cut them off, knowing that cutting them off financially so quickly could literally put them in a homeless situation or in a situation that makes their life extremely hard. Not saying it's your job to take care of them forever, but you should want to give them some time so they can get on their feet properly. So those are just some examples of like your strategy. And maybe you want out of this relationship today, but a strategy, once you build it out, you may not be able to exit for 2 months or 3 months.
Yeah.
You got to lay all the cards on the table to see that.
Yeah. And I even think even in a situation that you're in something good, you know, you don't spend a lot of time on it, but you kind of have an idea of things where it goes south. Like I know even in my relationship now, like anytime I can go to my parents and stay there, or I can go to my aunts or go to my cousins. Like I know that if something were to bad to happen, I know where I can go, what I can do, you know, and things like that. So just always have, you know, something in mind as far as like when you're leaving a situation.
Have your strategy.
Have your exit strategy of how you want to do that. And like Rhonda said, don't be messy. Yeah.
Yes. Minimize the messiness. So jumping into another kind of point on the process of leaving, is being really solid in your decision once you make it, like being really clear as to why you're leaving and why that decision is final. At least final in this moment. But I'm going to take that in this moment part out, because I think that then leads to the grieving process being really challenging. But being super solid in your decision, why you're doing it, and that you're doing it, and that is final.
Yes.
Being super duper 10 toes down on I want out of this.
So I think it's important to know what you want. That's the one of the most important things when you enter into a relationship, just in general. I'm going to use a sports analogy.
Oh, here we go. All right. Y'all know we love these.
And I'm going to try to.
I feel like we use sports analogies a lot.
Listen.
And I'm not even an athlete.
The number one analogy, or I don't even know what you call it, metaphoric space that translates from a non-biased place. Number one is farming, agriculture, stuff like that, like seeds growing. Like you can take, that's why the Bible uses so much of that and parables and stuff like that. Like you could take so many life lessons out of farming and growing and agriculture and stuff like that. But I think second is sports, because I could pull so many life lessons and analogies and metaphors out of sports that translate to regular life.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try to explain this two situations like I explained it, like if I'm explaining it to Bree, because Bree knows nothing about sports.
Okay.
Number one is that there's a team that's probably one of the best basketball teams of this era called the Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry, who's Steph Curry with the shot, you know, been mentioned in a lot of songs. He plays for the Golden State Warriors. So when Steph Curry got drafted, they brought in a coach named Mark Jackson.
Yep.
The Warriors were not good at that time, but they drafted Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Mark Jackson took them from being a non-playoff team to being in the playoffs every year and growing. They were young, they were up, they were ascending. At that time, too, the Warriors got a new owner.
Yeah.
His name was Joe Lacob. And Joe Lacob was somebody who always wanted to have a basketball team, loved basketball, always wanted to have a basketball team. Some owners have basketball teams and it's just like another one of their assets.
Yeah.
some people like love, they want a team and they're involved in the day-to-day. That is Joe Lacob. And one of his things when he bought the team was that I want to bring championships to Golden State, to the Bay, to San Francisco. That was his goal. So over this time, Mark Jackson did a great job. Built this franchise up, built these young stars and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson up. But it got to a point to where the team said, although Mark Jackson is really, really good, we want to win championships. So they fired Mark Jackson and brought in another coach named Steve Kerr. And after that year, they went to the championship and went to went to win 3 more championships.
Can I impress you just real quick?
Yes.
Steve Kerr was a Bull, and I know that.
He was a Bull.
He was one of the best Bulls.
He was a Bull. Yes, he was.
Hey.
And another situation with that, and I'm gonna bring it home. What I'm trying to say with this is that the Toronto Raptors, it was the same thing. They had a player called DeMar DeRozan. He's one of the best players in his position, really great, and they would win a lot of games in the regular season, make it to the playoffs, but they will always lose. Even in the game right before the championship, they will always lose. And DeMar DeRozan was one of the best at his position. But the front office said, we want to win a championship. And they traded one of the best players at his position for one of the best players in the actual league, Kawhi Leonard, who has already won championships before. And the next year, they won a championship. So what I'm trying to say with that is that they knew what they wanted. Some teams are okay with just making the playoffs. They're just fine with making the playoffs. That's fine. Like we win the playoffs, we make a little money here, we go out first, second round. That's cool.
Yeah.
But those teams knew they wanted to win championships. So even though the situation was good,
right,
they got rid of good because they knew what they wanted. They wanted great. They wanted better. They wanted to win championships.
Come on.
And when it comes to leaving a relationship, that's what I mean by knowing what you want. Like you could be in a good situation, and we've been talking about like one of your past relationships. It's a good situation. Like by all means, you look at it, a lot of people will be satisfied in that. But if you know what you want, and that's not what you want, you might have to put aside a good situation for something better.
What? Let the church say, if I had a damn organ, I would be in here tearing it up. Run around the church.
It's a real thing. Like you gotta.
Ooh, that's my friend, y'all. This is my friend Dre Smith.
I went a long way to get there, but I
stuck with you because I'm a church child. So you got to know when you listen to the preacher talking a good word.
Because you know you're gonna bring it back.
Absolutely.
You know you're gonna bring it back. And
absolutely.
But that's a real thing, and I see that a lot in relationships. Is like you're settling. You know you want kids. I know the person treats you great. I know they're sweet. I know they're, or you want marriage. And I know they're sweet. They treat you. That was one of our past scenarios. Person's great. Yep. Love them. Yep. I love it. We're planning future, all this stuff together, but I want to get married and he doesn't. By all means, it's good. You go into the playoffs every year, but do you want to win a championship? And if that's really what you want, then you need to move on from really good for great. And it comes at a cost.
Yeah.
The Golden State Warriors have the highest payroll in the NBA.
There we go.
$400 million. It comes at a cost.
A big one.
Winning, being great, it comes at a cost. You got to take chances. You got to sacrifice. You got to take risks. You got to take losses. Like, it comes at a cost. But if you know that's what you want, the people who want to win championships aren't going to ever be satisfied with going to the playoffs. Like, the people who are okay with that's fine for them. That's fine. That's cool. You know, to give or take, cheat a little bit. You know, we'll get back. But if you know you want this, like you won't even be satisfied with that other thing.
Yeah,
you're gonna try to make it work. But what you're always gonna do is be optimistic that something better will come from it. Those teams that want to win championships, that are going to the playoffs, they're like, well, maybe next year, you know, if we tweak this and do this, we can get there. Or maybe next year, if we tweak that and do that, we can get there. Because they're never satisfied with that. So you have to know what you want. If what you want is this, and although it could be really good, if that ain't what you want and you know you want that, you need to move on from something really good for something better.
Listen, you know what I'm about to say. Pack these mics up. Wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in to Real Love Scenario. We'll see you next week. Woo! So much to say in response to that, Dre. Smith. That was great. Number
Thank you.
one. Such a great analogy and extremely, extremely well packaged. But the entire time you were talking, I just kept thinking to myself, why is this so hard for people? Why is this so hard for people? Like, well, it's been hard for me, in my life. I was that particular relationship that you talked about. I was in that relationship for almost 5 years, but I knew that this was not the great that I wanted. Dog, in the first 12 months. I knew it in the first 6 months, if I'm gonna be all the way honest with you. I knew, but you know why it's so hard? It is because most of the time you are conditioned to be okay with just good, especially if you want marriage and like a family and all of that stuff. So many people will tell you the famous line that is now being rehashed on the internet is, he's a good man, Savannah. From Waiting to Exhale.
Mm-hmm.
Whitney Houston's character is Savannah. Her mother really likes this particular guy for her. And Savannah thinks he's cool too, but she just something about it. She can't. Well, he also was married. So that was part of the problem, that he was somebody's husband. But the mom would say to her, he's a good man, Savannah. And it's like, but I want a great man. And it's not that this man isn't great. He's not my great.
Yeah.
He's not great for me. He's totally fine. And he will be great to somebody else. And that's who I want him to be with. The woman who sees him as great. Because I feel like in ways, not only is my time being wasted, because I'm constantly thinking about, it's just good, it's just good, it's just good. Mm-hmm. But his time is being wasted because he should be in a relationship where the woman sees him as better than I could ever see him. So you are conditioned to be okay with just good. I can go off in a tangent about how some coaches or people in sports, again, don't like celebrating second place. Mm-hmm. Like it's like, why do second place people get awards? Why do you get a trophy for losing, essentially? Why do you get a trophy for being in third place? Like, we not clapping for that. Like, we only want, 1 is the only win, 2 is not the win, 3 is not the win. So it's like, to some degree, I understand that, because I don't want just good. And if you're somebody that's cool with that, cool. But if you want great, then you have to do the work and move around the pieces so that you can get great, because you're not going to manifest greatness into something that's is just not supposed to be that.
And another reason you asked why a lot of people stay in that situation, and I know this not just being a woman or something like that in that situation, just going back to sports, is what's that saying? It's better to deal with the devil you do know than the devil that you don't.
Yeah.
You're fearful. Well, I know that this is good. Mm-hmm. If I shake this up, I'm going into an unknown. Even though I think the next thing could be better, what if it's not?
Right.
I fear not making the playoffs at all if I shake this up.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people stay in that situation. This is good, but what you hear all the time, what else is out there? Dating now is horrible. So you know this isn't really what you want, but you're fearful of the other option being something worse versus better. So you stay in the really good.
Yep.
And I wonder why that is. Why is the outlook always that the other option is worse?
Yes, or less, or there is no other option. In fact, you know, I think that perfectly leads into kind of the third thing on a tip for leaving, is that if you are going to leave and you're reconciling with this decision, you need to leave because it's just the right thing to do for you and not because of what could come of it, right? Like, yes, amazing things could come of it, but also not so amazing things could come of you leaving. You have to worry less about what's on the other side of that because you just don't know. Some of the things that's going to come on the other side of that wholly depends on you. If you want to now live in a different country, well, that's just not, you're going to have to do that. You know, that's matter of fact. But yes, there are lots of variables that you can't control. Just because you leave this relationship and you then want another one, well, you may not get one. You may not get one for years. You may not get one at all. And if you're predicating your decision to leave this relationship on what the outcome is on the other side of this, then you will probably always be trapped in that, because your mind, like you just said, will play this trick on you and make you think like there are no options or the options are terrible, when there is just as much proof that the options are amazing. So why do you just get locked in on, well, this is the best thing that could ever happen, and so I'm gonna just take that. I think about that picture, which I feel like we've all seen it. It's a spiritual photo where it's like this drawing of Jesus, and he has this big teddy bear behind his back, and it's a little girl in front of him with a little teddy bear in her hand, and he's asking for it from her. But she's sad because she doesn't want to give it up, because it's like, well, this is my bear and I love this bear. One whole time he's got something better planned for you. That's the metaphor, is that he's got something greater for you, but you have to blindly trust. It's like, if you want better for your life, yes, you can believe it and manifest it and do some work for it. But if you know right here, right now, this is not right, that is what you need to be addressing, and not all those things that are to come. Hell, you may not even be here tomorrow. Like, how arrogant are we sometimes to be so concerned about what's going to happen 10 years from now, when you need to be worrying about what's happening today? Because this is the only thing you got right now, for sure. You can guarantee that at 4:36 p.m., I got this minute. So what I'm going to do with this minute? Stop worrying about 4:36 tomorrow and 4:36 10 years from now. You don't even know if you're going to really have all of that. So focus on the now. Focus on the fact that this just is not working, regardless of what's going to happen after this. Don't let that influence your decision, because it's too many things. It's too much unknown. It's way too much unknown. So, leaving is hard, man. Like, it is. Leaving, and then leaving good relationships is even harder.
It's more challenging.
But you've got to be really passionate about your life, because you really only get one. To our knowledge, we only get one. And I want to leave this place like the best I can be, the happiest I can be, the most fulfilled I can be. My friend Maya got this saying, I think from an artist, that says he wants to die empty. And that's just a metaphor for, I just want to be able to live out and dream out everything, whether that's career goals, relationship goals, family status. Like, I want to leave this place not feeling like, damn, I wasted so much time on that, or I stayed there with it. It's just, like, you only get one. Treat it that way. Treat it that way.
No, I completely agree.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head when it comes to
walking away.
It's always a challenge. It's always hard, like we said, no matter what the circumstances are. But you leaving is the first signal to yourself that you know that there's something out there that's better for you. You can't tell me that you know that there's something out there better for you if you're in a situation that doesn't make sense and you're choosing to stay in that situation. You don't truly believe that.
Right.
Because if you truly believe that, you wouldn't still be in this situation.
Yeah.
But you leaving is you telling yourself, like, I really believe that there's something better out here for me than what I'm currently in right now. And also when it comes to leaving, you shouldn't have to coerce somebody into wanting to be with you.
Say it again.
You shouldn't have to coerce somebody into wanting to be with you. It shouldn't be you setting up a PowerPoint presentation with point A, point B, slide 23 and slide 27 on why they should
my resume.
On why they should be with you. Like, a lot of times leaving is your decision because you feel like something isn't good for you, but sometimes somebody else is letting you go. And you still have to leave. Because what you have to understand is sometimes when people care about you, they're not always super upfront with how they are cutting things off with you. They're not, hey, I'm done with this situation.
Yeah.
They'll start to distance themselves. They'll stop, taking calls.
They'll get short. They'll
really
get brief.
Exactly. Like, because they don't want to hurt your feelings. They want you to catch the hint, and then for you to be like, I feel like this isn't working out. And they'll be like, okay, yeah, I feel like it's not working out.
Yes.
So don't try to hold on to people and try to convince people that you should be that they should want to be with you when they are showing they don't want to be with you.
No.
It's just not beneficial for you because you know you want somebody that's 100% into you and wants you. And if they're not that, then you got to see this situation as almost being a blessing that you're not going to be in it anymore because it's not for you.
Mindset. It's all back to mindset.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You should go where you are celebrated and not tolerated. You should not be dealing with a person that doesn't want all of you. They just want pieces of you, but they want the output of all of you, right? Like, I only want to deal with you on Tuesday and Wednesday, but I want that output to feel like I'm your man.
Yeah.
You know, like, no, sir, you don't get to do that. You have to be able to give all of this in order to get all of that. You only want a little bit of this, then you only get a little bit of that. That's how this works. 1000%.
I agree.
Yeah.
This ain't a campfire. When the flame starts to get low, it's not throw more wood and throw more of yourself on the fire to try to light it. No, that's not what you need to do.
Let it go out.
Let it go out.
Throw the water on it and let's move on. And let's get into the grieving process because that is then the next hurdle.
Yes. Once you choose to leave.
That is the next big bump. Man, let me just say this.
Okay.
I have been through a few breakups, and one thing I will say to our anonymous real lover and to you all listening and watching, a breakup can feel like literally one of the worst feelings ever. So I don't think that that's anything that you should run from. I think you just need to come to grips with the fact that, yes, most breakups, because some people break up and feel perfectly fine for whatever reasons, but that feeling in your chest, that tightness, that sharpness, those nauseating feelings sometimes, that lethargic experience of just like you are so incredibly tired, you just crying at the ice cream shop where you love to get ice cream, but you and him used to get it there. All that stuff is very real, and it's very much usually a part of the process. And so getting your mind prepared and understanding that you're going to have to deal with that is half the battle. It is normal. It is okay.
Yeah.
That you feel breakups. It's not just in your head. It's in your body. I know that. Like, I could try to describe that feeling. I know it. It feels like a tingly. It literally feels like a little fracture in your heart.
I mean, even think about when you had one great date with somebody and then you don't hear back from them. How like you're just like, how could it was such a good time, and I just like one date, like, and you can feel that. So imagine it being 5, 6, a year, 2 years, like, yeah.
I have watched grown men cry, like weep at the loss of their relationship, or just sometimes at the thought of it. Like, she not dead. It's just what it was is probably no more. And you are coming to terms with that. And it's enough to gut you and take the life clean out of you. So the tips that we're going to give you are really to help you navigate that and to help you minimize how much of that you experience. These tips will not save you from all of that.
Yes.
They just won't. Some of it you got to strap on the seatbelt and go for the ride. It's going to be okay. It's really going to be okay. So let's jump into the first one.
Yes.
This is a good one. Don't become too idle or too isolated, which is very natural to do when you go through a breakup. You want to shut everything off, everybody out, and just wallow in your sadness. And it's just not good for you. Not good for you at all. It's extremely unhealthy, actually, because this is a time where you probably need support the most. This is a time where you probably do need to cling on to whoever your tribe is, your friends, your family members, your therapists, whoever you go to when you need real support. This is probably when you need to cling on to them the most, and be reasonable. I'm cutting my eye at y'all that's watching. Be reasonable, okay? Don't dump. Don't overly dump on people because you're going through the breakup. Your friends shouldn't feel like they going through the breakup too.
No, I agree with this. Actually, it's funny because recently Bree was going through like a real bad funk with something, and she was like really, really struggling. And I was like, yo, just get out the car, walk into this place, and I know it'll turn right back on. It's hard. It's you. It'll be easy to turn it right back on. And she ended up doing it, and that did happen. So I do agree with that. Like sitting there with your thoughts and mulling over things, like it can get you into a really depressive state and really like bad mental space. But even if it's something like you're saying, like, not being idle, like say you go bowling, if you bowl a strike, nobody's just going, no matter how sad you are, if you bowl a strike, nobody's just going to be like, I guess I bowled a strike. Like the excitement is just going to trigger like a smile or like, oh, like even if you aren't feeling good, doing something like that will automatically trigger a smile. Or if you go to an ice cream place, it's like comfort food. That bite is just going to be like, like even in this moment, like this is a nice little like
a little pick me up,
like a little pick me up. That's why they call them pick me ups. Like you said, not being letting those thoughts and emotions just overtake you, or like just forget about relations. Idle time in general is just not good.
Right.
Like you get into so many things. I feel like you get into more things you're not supposed to get into when you have idle time.
True.
Versus when you're actually keeping yourself busy and doing things.
Yep.
So it's like,
I agree with you.
Yeah, idle time is just isn't. Your mind can go to so many different places. You can resort to so many different things. Get up, get out, do some things, talk to some people.
Yeah. That to-do list that you have for your life. This is you should have been working on it anyway, in or out of a relationship, but sometimes relationships come in and distract you from things that you should have been working on for you. This is a perfect time to revisit that list, figure out what things you need to get done, because even that becomes pick-me-ups. Like think about, you write out a list. The joy is coming back and crossing things off of it. The joy is saying, I accomplished that, and that makes you feel good. Because one thing I know for a fact, going through several breakups, is that I cannot fully trust myself in that time, that grieving time. I cannot fully trust my thoughts. I cannot fully trust how I feel most of the time, because I'm in turmoil. My heart is in turmoil with my mind. My mind is in turmoil with my body. Even if I was the one to initiate the breakup, to leave the relationship, I could still get stuck in this cycle of like, what did I do wrong? Did I pick the wrong person? Was I not showing up enough? Like one of my relationships, we wound up breaking up because he cheated. And while that seems like super straightforward, he cheated, so we're done. I went through this period of like, well, did he cheat because I wasn't doing enough? Did he cheat because I was working too much? He had even said that to me, like, you're not here enough. You're not here a lot. So these things just start to cycle in your mind, and you just really shouldn't trust yourself as much as you normally would when your mind is very sober. Breakups are intoxicating, just like you just talked about, that lovely feeling, just like that euphoric feeling of joy and happiness from love. Those sad moments are also intoxicating. And this is why you shouldn't drive cars when you're intoxicated. This is why you shouldn't operate machinery when you're intoxicated. Same thing. You really shouldn't trust your thoughts all the time, because you are intoxicated with these low feelings of, oh my gosh, my relationship didn't work out. So getting busy and filling your time, not to the point of avoidance though, because some people do that, where you just, you stack up your life so much that you're actually not processing this grief.
Yeah.
And you need to know that balance.
And also not with other relationships as well.
Let's undo that saying of the best way to get over someone is to get under somebody else.
Yeah, no.
It's not true.
It could be something as simple as just like cooking. Like you just try a new recipe, you go to the grocery store, you get some stuff, and you're just at home just looking at the instructions, maybe listen to some music. It's just something that gets you going, doesn't have your mind just, thinking about the situation. But I think that that's why the exit strategy plays such a huge part in the grieving process, because then at times to where you may want to resort back to hitting them back up or seeing what they're up to or something like that, you put things in place that make that a lot more challenging to do. Yeah,
absolutely. I agree. I mean, get a hobby, get 3 of them. Tell your friends, and this is the last thing I'll say before we move into the next tip. Be honest with your group about what you need. And that's grief on really any level. Yeah, like even if you're grieving an actual like physical loss, like someone passed away, hopefully you can find a way to be honest with the people that you need the most, to tell them like what you need. Like, I do need you to check on me a lot, or I do need you to just like help get me out the house. Like, if you call me and I'm like, yeah, girl, I'm just chilling, and the last 3 times you said you was just chilling, put the pressure on me to get myself out of the house. I remember one breakup I was going through, bad. I mean, bad. I mean, I had to go to the hospital bad. That's how overwhelming it was for me. And my friend at the time was my hairstylist. And she knew about the breakup, and she was like, won't you come up to the salon? And I was like, no, like, I don't need my hair done. I don't really want, but that was one of our hangout spots. And she's like, no, like, come. And I was like, I don't really got no money right now to get my hair done. I needed my hair done. She's like, just come. I ain't asked you about money. I didn't ask you about none of that stuff. And she did my hair for free. And it just made me feel good. Like, I spend around in that chair, just even the washing was so, cathartic. It was just, I just needed somebody to touch me in a way that, for her, she just washing my hair. For me going through the breakup, it was like, this person loved me the way she washing these girls with this conditioner she does. Oh my God. Like, I needed that whole process to pick me up. So you need to tell your tribe, like, yo, I'm gonna need some late nights, or if you can make space for me to let me just vent, or hold me accountable, give me whatever it is, just be honest about what you need from your folks. This one is probably one of the biggest ones that's hard for me, is not dwelling in the possibilities. And I think that's one of the biggest parts of breakups, is all that you thought was going to be. You get real stuck there. Really stuck there.
I think you have to, that, which goes into our last point, it just takes time to unmarry yourself from what could have been. And I mean, that's ultimately what makes the grief process the grief process. Is there is a picture in your head of what you thought, whether it's life with that person would continue to be like if somebody passed away, or if it's in a relationship, what you assume things would be. I think it's also, you have the grieving of what you thought the possibilities could have been, but then you also look at the situation, depending on what the breakup reason was, you never thought they would have did something like that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a tough thing to overcome. And the only thing I can think of is time. And I always talk to Brie about this. She's like, "Why are you always so like happy?" And so I'm like, right. I'm a pragmatic optimist. So I'm focused in like logical things, but I'm very optimistic about like life.
Yeah.
I'm a very glass half full person. And it's like Brie and I just went to LA, and it's like, all right, the plans didn't originally go like they were supposed to. Our flights got delayed and all that stuff, but I can look at all the positives of the situation, and I can just say like, well, okay, look at the situation. Let's say I broke up with this person. It's like, well, I don't want somebody who is cheating on me and doesn't care about like, my feelings or the way that I, my emotional stability and all these things that come with somebody who is a chronic cheater or something like that. Yeah. It's like, that's not what I want. So it's probably good that I know this now before this relationship has gone any further.
Yeah.
There is just so many, just the way the perspective is a word I can just end it with, is that the perspective on this situation can help you with unmarrying yourself from the idea of what could have been. And then also being optimistic and knowing that the great parts of what you had, you can still have that with somebody else without some of the negatives that contributed to the breakup.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's it. And it's crazy how imagination, because that's what that is. That picture in your mind, you drew that up. It's just not actually real. It's crazy how fantasy and imagination has us in a chokehold sometimes, but especially through this particular process. It's like when you start going through the breakup, you focus so very much on what could have been that you just ignore what actually was.
The present.
what actually was is why you are actually here in this process. And so I don't think you should necessarily dwell on either too much, but if you're going to dwell on one, it is the reason for the break. It is not what could have happened had those things not happened. Listen, a lot of things could happen. I could have been born to Beyonce, and I would have been a millionaire at birth, but I wasn't. I was born to Spring Heart. And you know what? That's pretty amazing because my mother is incredible and she doesn't have to be rich for her to be amazing. The reality is better than the possibility because I don't know what it's like to be Beyonce's child. I could very well assume that it's great because she has money, but she could be a horrible mother. And listen, I love Beyonce. I don't think she is, but she could be. The truth is, I don't actually know. So when you start dreaming up that life, you start dreaming up that life with a shit ton of positives. When that life that you were dreaming up could have been filled with negatives, it could have been the exact opposite of that. What's making you go that it would have been the most beautiful thing in the world? How would you know that? You don't know.
I think with a relationship, obviously a relationship had to have some type of potential and be great in some type of way for you to build up this narrative in your head. I mean, some people are wishful thinkers and have a very...
Also known as delusional.
Yes, delusional or a very creative imagination.
Yes. Also known as delusional.
Yes.
I'm kidding.
But what I'm trying to say is that what you have to take into consideration is that when you find that thing or uncover that thing that prompts you to want to leave a situation, you need to then add that as being a piece of either who that person is or an aspect of that relationship. It's not like a one-off thing that's not a part of the relationship or not a part of the person. It's a part of that. So when you evaluate the relationship in totality, just because you knew them for 2 years and you discovered the thing that leads to the breakup in year 3, you can't disassociate that from the first 2 years. You just didn't see that part yet.
Right.
It's part of it. It's like if you go in a house and you live in a house and then you break down the walls and then you see it's mold and termites and all that stuff in there. That's part of the house. You just didn't see it.
Right.
But that's part of it. So when you look and think of the potential of what the house could have been or how you could have lived and how long you could have did it, it's like now that viewpoint changes when you add the termites and the mold and all that stuff that was underneath the wall and underneath the foundation and all that stuff into the equation. Like you have to include that. So then when your outlook of what the relationship could have been now changes because of what happened. And one of my favorite movies is one of my favorite quotes of any movie is from the Social Network movie.
Okay.
I don't know if I said this before, but it's one of my favorite quotes.
I feel like you have, but
I feel like I have. It was a time where the Winklevoss twins, who said that they started Facebook and made Facebook, were in a deposition with Mark Zuckerberg.
Yes.
And Mark Zuckerberg's character was looking out the window and they were arguing with the attorneys of how they made Facebook and how they did this and how he stole it. And then Mark Zuckerberg's character just turned around and said, if you made Facebook, you would have made Facebook.
Yeah.
If you thinking about the potential of what the relationship would have been, if it was going to be that, it would have been that.
Period.
The reason that you're leaving is because it wasn't going to be that, because something happened
to prevent that
from happening.
Yep. Very simple.
So when you think about, unmarrying yourself from what it could have been, it is actually a figment of your imagination, because if it was going to be that, then it would have been that.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, very, very simple. And you cannot skip, like you say, you can't skip over the part that led you to the decision. How you break up with the person and then go, maybe you ran into, what's the character's names from Men in Black? Whatever Will Smith and Tommy Jones's names are. Did you run into them at some point and got your brain erased from what led you to that? And you literally skip back to, in her scenario, she's writing, I'm sitting here right now and I'm thinking about how it was, and it's like he just did a 180. You thinking about how it was more than you're thinking about how it is, and that is why this is hurting even more, because your mind is telling you this really good person who loved me, was clingy, into me, blah 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 blah, that's who I broke up with. That is not who you broke up with.
Oh.
You broke up with the one who was not responding to your messages. You broke up with the person who stopped planning dates. You broke up with the person who wasn't flirting with you anymore. You broke up with the person who took less calls. That is who you broke up with. You were in a relationship with the other guy. Yeah, you were in a relationship with him. Same body, different experience. And if he was who he was at the end, in the beginning, it would have never even made it that far. So stick there. Stay there when you're thinking about the breakup.
Ron and I worked in property management. She's worked in it longer than I have. I've worked in Class A luxury buildings my whole time, property management. Worked in a lot of lease ups. For people who don't know what those are brand new construction buildings. I don't care how nice the building is, how well it was built, no matter who the builder was. I guarantee you, within the first few months, there are always going to be leaks in that building.
Yes, sir.
Because all the utilities haven't been ran all the time. All the water hasn't been turned on. Like, it always happens. Hasn't been used.
Yes.
So all I say that to say is that a lot of times you enter into a relationship, like, it may seem all nice and fine and cool in the beginning, but you just got there. Like, give it a little time, run the water a little bit, turn some things on, and you might realize that it's not all what you thought it was actually to be. And there's a lot of issues in that thing, but you can't judge what you feel like your whole relationship will end up being off of the initial 1 or 2 or 3 months of that experience, because that's when the person's most excited, they're the most responsive, they're the most lovey-dovey. That's when you know the least about who they are in general. So it's like you have to, like I said, take into account that person in the beginning is less indicative of who they are versus the person towards the end. That's more of who they are and how they feel. And especially if you're going to want to be in a long-term relationship with somebody, wouldn't you rather go off the most recent history of who they were versus the beginning of it? You want to base the future with them off of what they were in the beginning versus the most recent. You ain't going to go to the bank and get a mortgage and they're going to say, let me see your pay stubs from 2011. No, they're going to see, let's see your most recent. I want to see what you've made recently. Like, I don't. That's anything that's checking references. Let me see the last job you were at. You know, or the one before that, not your McDonald's ice cream thing from middle school. Like, no, go off the most recent, because that's the most accurate off of who the person will be moving forward. If recently they aren't the person that you want them to be, stop trying to get the person that they were in the beginning to be that person when they shown you, hey, for the last 7 months, this is me. And you're like, well,
but for the first 30 days, you were
amazing. And how do we get back there? And it's like,
you probably can't. You probably can't.
It's not
get
two
back
different
there.
people. It's the same person. You just learn more about them.
Yes, right. That's what I said. Same body, but two different experiences.
Exactly.
And you have to deal with the proof that is in the pudding. And that is what you have experienced the most. Like, it's not so much, and it is about the recent activity, but who have you been on average the most?
Exactly.
Like, if we looking at 6 months of time, have more of the days been like the person I don't like, or have more of the days been like the person that I do like? If more of the days are the person that I don't like, then that's who you are dealing with. People don't necessarily change who they are fundamentally. You know, like when they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, you surely can teach an old dog new tricks, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be a dog. It's still going to be a dog. Like, you can teach the dog how to walk on his back legs. It doesn't make it a human because it's walking upright. Monkeys, which I am obsessed with monkeys so badly, but they can do so much because they're so close to the DNA and the design of humans, but they are still monkeys. Even when they can run and laugh and joke and they understand certain things, wear sunglasses, they do so many things that humans do. They're still monkeys. So stop trying to make your person who is showing you that they're a dog, that you're trying to make them a cat. They're not. Stop that. Stop that. Stop being so in love with potential and possibility and fantasy and what would just make you feel better. I would not want to be treated or handled personally in the way you perceive me. I want you to deal with who you see. Okay, like that's what I want for myself. And so that's what I am going to do. And if I
Yeah.
want to be treated a certain way, if I want to be honored a certain way, admonished a certain way, that's who I'm going to show up as, so that it's easy for you to treat me that way. Because if I want you to treat me lovingly, then I'm going to be loving. I'm going to be as easy to love as possible. If I want you to think that I'm sexy, then I'm gonna show up to make you feel like, damn, like, yeah, like I gotta come in the room in the way that I want to be treated.
Sure.
It's rare that people treat you different than what you are being. So you can't get too lost in there. So that was great. Moving into the last tip, last and final tip is trust the process.
Yeah, trust the process. It takes time. All healing takes time.
Yeah.
Not just physical healing, emotional healing, spiritual healing.
Yeah.
It's literally, it's neurological that when you go to sleep, your brain starts to place things in the right places. I remember reading that, because you hear people always say, just take some time, sleep on it. Like that really is a scientific thing, that your brain kind of resets and puts the things, the emotions, the feelings in the places that they need to be placed, versus when you originally feel something or hear something. So time really does heal. Like it just takes time to do that. And like I said, trust the process and understand that, be realistic in your expectations of what this process is going to be like.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of trusting the process, or trusting anything. If your expectations are, unrealistic, you're not going to trust anything, because it's going to end up disappointing you, because you expected it to be something that it actually isn't. When it comes to breakups and grieving, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Just put that as a thing. It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough. You're going to want to fall back into the old situation sometimes, and may be tempted to.
Yep.
That's part of it. Expect all these things, and now make it easier for you to trust the process. But if you're expecting that, if you spend time away, or if you block them, that you won't think about them anymore or do anything like that, it's going to be a lot harder to trust the process, because you're going to think you're failing at the process.
Yes.
Or that the process isn't working for you, or that you're different somehow, or maybe this is a sign. Oh, Lord Jesus. I done seen so many people use signs, like so many things for signs.
Not even realizing that was, you did not see that sign. You made that sign.
Yeah, you use everything for a sign. He used to always use ketchup and mustard on his hot dogs. And last time we came here, the onions was out too. I feel like that's a sign that we should. It's like people, the signs that people be trying to use for signs. Like I'll be like,
that is not a
you
sign.
are reaching.
Did you stretch first? Jesus, that is a hell of a reach.
You are reaching for this, ain't you? I feel like that means I should call him.
It does not mean that. Speaking of, I feel like I need to call him. We didn't say this, but I'm going to put this in the category of trust the process. A part of the process is understanding that the closure was you leaving. The closure was the decision, and then you ultimately being apart from one another. Closure happens within self. You do not have to reach back to a person to get closure. And sometimes the closure is not this grandioso experience that comes with like, so, Dre, I'm just seeking closure. And what I would like is for you to apologize to me for everything that you did. I just want you to us to go over these few things. Like, you really think that's going to lead to closure? Or my favorite one, all sarcasm, is let's just do it one last time. Let's just have sex one last time, because that's the closure that we really need here. That is the best way to turn this breakup into cyclical. Like, it will continue to go around and around and around, because you think that you need to get closure by staying connected to that person. You think you need to get closure by having a bunch of conversations horizontally or vertically, that's your closure. You don't need that. You don't need that. Your closure is within you. Your closure is that you made a decision that was best for yourself and hopefully inherently best for them. That's more than enough. Your closure was literally the relationship coming to a close. That's plenty. You don't need to go chasing that. Again, that's a part of the process.
It is.
It's part of the process. Just let the process
don't think you're above temptation. What's that song? Every time I try to leave, something keeps pulling me back, telling me I need you in my life.
Speaking of songs.
That's a real thing.
That's a real song. Speaking of songs. get you a happy playlist and stay in that one and stay out of that love one.
How long if you feel?
Stay away from the Mary J. Blige's, stay away from the Giveon, stay away from those artists.
I love, speaking of this, Rhonda and I are music lovers. This is a whole sidetrack. Like,
It's okay, I'm down for a music sidetrack.
we are music lovers, and I'll just be listening to older songs. And I'm like, yo, the way that the passion, you could tell they was fed up. Like, what's the one with, it's like Patti LaBelle and Dion and Aretha. I'm not your superwoman.
Karen White.
But they did it like a group thing.
Yes.
I'm not the kind of girl that you can lay down and think that everything's okay. Boy, I'm only human.
Okay.
I'm like, they out there like, listen.
Seriously, wrap this up.
Listen.
I ain't no superwoman. I am not superwoman. Literally, you see something on my chest because I don't. I'm not. Go ahead. I don't know what you think this is. You better get up out of here.
They screaming.
Like,
I just love the old school, even the love songs with,
it was different.
They really talking to, girl, you know
I was about to go to that one.
begging.
Like, they literally crying and hollering on the song. It's like, woo, I understand why relationships are more successful back in these days. I get it. Because I can't tell you no. You on the phone, on the floor with the mic, like, boy, we together. We are together. This is my man, y'all. I'm sticking beside him, the one with the microphone with the tears coming down. He on me, and I'm gonna be on him. Oh, for sure. But listen, when you go through a breakup, them songs will have you in
what
a choke hold.
It's like church music. Like, you going through certain songs, they have you.
You be like, oh my God, how they know? How did they know? Please stay away from them songs. And I'm so sick of love. Turn it off. Turn that off.
Why can't I turn off the radio?
Turn it off ASAP. Hit the dial. Get out of that. Don't go to the concert where everybody in there is like, this artist only sing about breakups. Stay away from them. You can come back to them when you're in a better headspace. But right now, they're not going to do anything for you but keep you right in that little spot of like, oh my God, that's the worst thing that ever happened to me. Get you some, one of my favorite genres of music to go to when I am going through a breakup, trap. Just the most... turn me into a drug dealer. That's the best way.
That might send somebody with some windshields and stuff.
No, I mean, not
certain people.
Yeah, certain people. But like, hard. Listen, when I'm out here talking about, I'm in the kitchen whipping like it's stir fry, I'm not thinking about him. How could I think about that when I'm in the car like, Migos, I'm not thinking about no man. I'm really not. I'm out here trying to get to the trap house, okay, to pick up my packages so I can go out here and make this bread in the streets. Find your music that takes your mind into like a fun place or a happy place and stay. If you're a music person, like, man, it's some songs that I still come on to this day. And I'm like, ooh, that song had me down bad because of that breakup. Had me down bad. I listened to it 17,000 times because it was the one that was like, no, I get away from that. So yes, trust the process. It is in fact a process. You can't go around it. You have to go through it. Mm-hmm. You have to. And you have to know, I listened to a pastor say this morning and then I'll leave it here. He said that life is lived forward. Life is lived, you have to move forward in order to live life. But it is only understood backwards. You only understand things better once you experience them. While you think this breakup is probably like the worst thing that's ever happened to you, once you get through it and you look back at it, you'll understand why you needed to experience that. You'll understand why you maybe didn't need to be with this person, but you got to actually go through it first in order to be able to get that understanding. So don't be afraid of going through tough times. You're going to get a lot of understanding, hopefully, and lessons out of that process. So
I agree. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow's a mystery, but today's a gift. Love. The present.
Sounds like one of those little things that be hanging on people's walls.
It was from Kung Fu Panda. I don't know if it applies here or not, but it just felt right.
Home Goods, put that on one of them little things and sell it. They should sell out. I love that. Well, Anonymous, we hope that we were able to help you and give you some good tips. I know you wanted to know if you're desperate for waiting. I wouldn't call it desperate. That's just mean. But I think with the tips, you can probably deduce that we don't think that's the best idea. You don't know what the future holds. You certainly don't. But you should not be basing your next steps and moves off of this coming back around, because you just don't know that.
No.
But take those tips, apply them, and you'll be okay.
You'll be okay. Like, you don't want to be convincing somebody that if somebody's distancing themselves from you, they're telling you how they feel. Just take it. That's not what you need in your life anyway, because that's not what you want.
It's not. And look, Dre, you've been through a breakup.
I have.
You okay?
I'm good.
I've been through a breakup. I'm okay.
Yeah.
You can be okay too.
Oh, let me say this one last thing.
Okay.
One thing that I dealt with on a breakup is don't let, like, if you grow, let's say you broke up with a person, but it was for the wrong reasons or something like that. Don't let the guilt of how you feel in that situation make you feel like that's a reason to get back with that person. Sometimes the relationship wasn't good and you just need to grow from it and you just need to learn from it. But I've been in a situation where I thought I wanted to get back with the person, and it wasn't because I actually even thought the relationship was great. It was more just me feeling guilty for how I operated within a relationship and the breakup. And now that I grew, I knew that some things I did were wrong. So I kind of wanted to redo to show like, oh, I grew and I'm better, but we weren't meant to be together. It was just, I felt guilty. So just don't fall for that either. Evaluate the relationship for what it was. If you do choose to revisit it at some point, make sure it's because it's something that you actually want. They grew from it. You grew from it. Give it some space and time. And, you know, some relationships do, when you run it back, work, but normally it's not right back. It's like over time.
Yes, absolutely. Well, listen, Anonymous, we hope that helped you. We really, really do. Sending you good vibes and good energy. Again, you'll be okay. If you want to write into us, you know where to find us, relationshiprestore.com. Click the contact and you can write into the show. We're also on social media. I'm at Ronnie Cakes.
At Dre Smith.
And at Relationship Restored. Don't forget to leave a review, subscribe, comment. We read everything. We very, very, very much enjoyed that. So tell a friend to tell a friend.
Love you, real lovers. Peace.